It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. A company becomes obsolete when it focuses on delivering the past to the future instead of delivering the future to the present. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The future of delivering great experiences to customers is going to be able to navigate those customers through the intersection between the digital and physical world. And the people that can navigate customers through that intersection will win. And they'll take away a whole lot of great relationships from the people that are still living in a product-centric landscape as they deliver those customers stellar experiences. Today, I want to talk about our friends over at Xerox. You know, a while back, I talked about their Care AR platform. Phenomenal augmented reality platform. Will change servicing. Will change servicing for the world, folks. It's a phenomenal platform, and I hope you're paying attention to it, and I hope you're researching it. Xerox is coming out with something else, and I'm going to talk about with that. It's super exciting. It's showing me that Xerox is really looking way past paper, you know. I mean, they can actually say that, and they won't have to go back on a whirlwind tour and tell everybody they didn't mean to say that. Because the things they're doing are showing the whole world that Xerox is a lot more than just paper. It's a lot more than just print. Of course, they're going to benefit from print as long as people will print. But they're also preparing themselves to deliver the future to the present. And there's only one other player in our space that I believe is doing the same thing, and I'm going to talk about them in another video. But today I want to talk about Xerox and this new platform they're putting together with the Australian government. It has to do with bridges and Eloque, and it's phenomenal. Stick with me. So ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I want to do is I want to ask you a question. Here's the four main manufacturers, right? Konica Minolta, Canon, Ricoh, HP. If you think about this, if the revenues from print dropped 40% from the 2019 revenues, and the profits from those revenues dropped 20% from the 2019 numbers, could any one of these four exist? And the answer would be, it would be tough. Probably not. They better figure out something else to do. Now, we know that Canon and Konica Minolta have diversified into some medical applications, you know, but is that a broad deliverable? Is that a niche market? I think their diversifications are niche. Canon has a lot of diversifications around workflow with paper documents. But I believe more and more information will be consumed behind glass, so paper documents could become something to be a problem. We think about HP, the largest commodity player in the space. They're a commodity player. They make stuff as cheap as they can, and they want people to sell it as cheap as they can, right? It's all about being cheap, going into the marketplace, getting mass placements, but there's really going to be no revenue. Their personal systems division, what does that run at? 5-6% operating profit? You know, pretty soon the print's going to be the same way. You know, people aren't printing as much. They're not going to buy as much ink. You know, they're not going to buy printers as much. And when they do, they're going to want them cheap. HP doesn't really have anything in the portfolio to change the game in the way we see our friends over at Xerox kind of changing the game. That's why it was so important for them to get together back then. Remember when I was on that rant? Our friends over at Ricoh, lots of print in their portfolio. Trying to do some IT services like our friends over at Konica, but that's not really going to change the game. If in fact the revenues from the core deliverable of print drop 40% and the profits from those revenues drop 20% from the 2019 number. So the only thing these four players have to ask themselves is, when's that going to happen? When are the revenues going to drop 40% from 2019's number? Will it be 2025 or 2030? We all know they're going to drop, right? We all know that without some kind of consolidation, we're going to continue to race to the bottom, putting more pressure on profits and eroding more revenues. And the whole time, this whole pandemic, what has most of this industry talked about? Seriously, let's be honest. Most of the document imaging channel, most of the players in the whole entire industry were talking about print volumes. Print volumes. Print management. How many pages are they going to print? How many people are going to go to the office? How many people are going to work at home? How's that going to affect pages printed? And it seems to me our friends over at Xerox were thinking past the printed page. Our friends at Ricoh tried to start thinking about past the printed page. Then they had to go on a whirlwind tour and tell everybody they made a mistake. They didn't mean to say that. So without any further ado, I want to share another slide, and I want you to go down a road with me. And I want you to imagine with me, if you will, that we're traveling in that intersection between the digital and physical worlds. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. I want you to think about the worker, and I want you to think about the worker's life. We used to run around and we used to say that we wanted to have work-life balance. Craziest term I ever heard. It turned work and your life into a contest. We'd hear people saying things like, well, I had to work on my kid's birthday, so now I need the next 5 birthdays off. And, it just became a contest. It became about the worker and the employer. And we forgot to think about who? The most important person? The customer. We built corporate cultures based on a work-life balance that forgot about who? The customer. We have organizations out there trying to assimilate employees to all think alike, to live in a utopia of happiness. And we forgot about who? The customer. Well, I'm here to remind everybody we need to start thinking about that customer, and we need to start thinking about how that customer thinks. And we need to start thinking about what that customer wants, because that customer wants to navigate through that intersection between the digital and physical world, and that customer is going to look for people that can help them navigate that intersection. Think about it, my friends. We don't want a work-life balance anymore. We want to integrate work and life, because the workers are using the same tools in their work and in their life. E-commerce, the same tools in their work and in their life. Glass technology. The Google Glass, remember that? It's coming back with a vengeance, folks. This software is coming back with a vengeance. People are consuming more and more information behind glass. That's really setting up our friends over at Sharp with an interesting future. Think about augmented reality. The Care AR platform is an example. People are going to use augmented reality in their work life and in their personal life. And those technologies are going to what? They're going to integrate those two lives. Communications. We're using the same tools to communicate in our work life, our personal life. We're integrating those two lives. AI and 5G. Think of the possibilities between AI and 5G and AI meeting the Internet of Things. Oh my gosh, there's so many things that are going to happen inside that intersection between the digital and physical world. Who's prepared for it? Who's ready to play in it? And we better start thinking of those end users, because when we take our eye off the end users and we only focus on products, and we don't focus on how those products can provide solutions to make the experience in life and work better in that intersection, we're fooling ourselves. And we're going to continue to try to deliver the past to the future as opposed to delivering the future to the present. So without any further ado, I want to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, and this is really, really, really exciting stuff. So our friends over at Xerox, who I describe as the largest dealer in the world, a $7 billion distribution channel, that's what they are, folks. And they're not going to run around trying to figure out how to buy products that they can deliver to all their customers. It appears to me what they're doing is they're looking for really in-depth solutions that they can deliver people. And there's a difference in that. When we think about these other OEMs, what are they doing? Are they building products to deliver to a customer? Or are they building products to deliver to people? Because people means they're not a customer. They're not even a copier printer customer ever. But we have a solution that we can deliver that person that can use that solution in their personal or their work life. That's the home run. And I see Xerox doing this with their Care AR platform. Augmented reality is awesome stuff, folks. But let's talk about Eloque. Eloque's phenomenal, my friends. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And I want to pull up this article, and you gotta Google Eloque. I mean, it's really something to pay attention to. So the Australian government, Xerox and Eloque, got together and said, we want to figure out a way to manage and monitor the health of our infrastructure around our bridges. And they brought a solution to do just that. They brought a solution to manage bridges and the infrastructure health of those bridges. And they're using sensors. Remember a long time ago I said, we got the whole entire document editing channel running around trying to come up with a new DCA tool to count pages and all this crazy nonsense when nobody in the document editing channel's customers ever want to count another page again. They just want to print till they don't need to print anymore, and they don't really care about counting pages. But what could these sensors do outside of that? What will sensor technology do to change the game for people? For people, not necessarily print customers. And this is what I see with Eloque. These sensors go on these bridges and they'll alert the engineers who need to be alerted of potential problems with bridges. This sounds pretty far-fetched for a copier company, doesn't it? Pretty far-fetched for people that sell toner and supply services to print equipment, doesn't it? That's the point. Because Xerox isn't looking at trying to figure out how to bring solutions or products to sell copier customers. I assure you, this is probably the sad part. I assure you there's folks out there thinking to themselves, oh, we got to get this Eloque technology and we got to start, monitoring bridges, because if we're monitoring the bridges, well, obviously we'll be able to sell them print equipment. I hope nobody says that out loud. Let that be the last time that's ever heard, because that's pure insanity. But some in our industry, that's how we think. We think we bring products and solutions to the table so we can sell more print. And print, whether we want to admit it or not, is becoming less and less relevant to the people. To the people. And we need to start thinking about the people, and we need to start thinking about how work and life are going to be integrated through technologies. And it'll be the organizations that can develop those technologies, perfect those technologies, that will in fact deliver those stellar, awesome experiences in the intersection that I described between the physical and digital world. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd pay attention to Xerox. I'd read more about what they're doing. Don't dismiss them through some kind of prejudices because you think your OEM's better than they are. Because we're not talking about print. We're not talking about toner. We're talking about the people that consume technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, remember this. Status quo is the killer of all that will be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.